An old woman lived in a decrepit house in a downtown neighborhood. She had been alone for many years, ever since her husband died when she was still quite young. The neighborhood was abuzz with gossip about the old woman, claiming she conversed with invisible entities that tickled and annoyed her. To protect herself, she always kept scissors under her pillow at night. Strange occurrences were frequent in her home. Objects would move on their own, and unexplained noises filled the air. Despite the eerie atmosphere, the woman went about her days, seemingly unfazed by the odd happenings. One day, a stranger arrived in the neighborhood, looking to rent a room. The realtor, eager to fill the vacancy, brought him to the old woman's house. The rent was affordable, and the man decided to move in. Weeks passed, and the man began to settle in. The neighbors, curious about the newcomer, eventually approached him. One day, a neighbor asked, "Since you moved into the woman's house, have you noticed anything odd?" The man shook his head, puzzled. "No, what's odd about it?" The neighbor sighed and explained, "No one in this area wants to interact with her or visit her home. We avoid her because she claims to have contact with invisibles. She talks to them, and they supposedly help her." The man was intrigued and a bit skeptical. He decided to observe more closely, wondering if there was any truth to the stories or if they were merely the product of overactive imaginations and superstition. Little did he know, his curiosity would lead him into a world of mystery and unseen forces, revealing the secrets of the old woman's lonely life. One night, as the man lay in bed watching the ceiling, he heard the old woman talking to someone. Curiosity got the better of him, and he sneaked out of his room, careful not to make a sound. He peeked into the old woman's room but saw no one. Confused, he returned to his room, trying to shake off the eerie feeling. Later that night, he was jolted awake by a strange noise. He cautiously got up and peered through his window. To his shock, he saw a woman with long, thick black hair entering the house. His heart pounded with fear, and he quickly hid behind the curtain, peeking out just enough to watch her. The mysterious woman moved silently, her hair swaying like a dark curtain behind her. She seemed to glide rather than walk, her feet barely touching the ground. The man's breath caught in his throat as she approached the old woman's room. He strained to hear their conversation but could only catch snippets of words that made little sense. The old woman's tone was gentle, almost reverent, as if she were speaking to a cherished friend. The dark-haired woman's responses were soft and melodious, yet haunting. After what felt like an eternity, the mysterious woman turned and glided out of the house, disappearing into the night as quietly as she had come. The man remained hidden, his mind racing with questions. Who was this woman? Why did she visit the old woman? And most importantly, were the rumors about the invisible entities true? Determined to uncover the truth, the man resolved to keep a closer watch on the old woman and her nightly visitor, even if it meant confronting his own fears and the unknown. Over the next few nights, the man kept a vigilant eye on the old woman and her mysterious visitor. Each night, the dark-haired woman appeared and conversed with the old woman, their whispers filling the otherwise silent house. The man could never catch enough of their conversation to make sense of it, but he sensed a deep bond between them. One night, mustering all his courage, the man decided to confront the old woman. He waited until the mysterious visitor had left and then approached her room. He knocked softly, and the door creaked open. The old woman looked up, her eyes wide with surprise but not fear. "May I come in?" he asked hesitantly. The old woman nodded and gestured for him to sit. He took a deep breath and began, "I've seen her. The woman with the long black hair." "Who is she?" The old woman smiled, a mixture of sadness and fondness in her eyes. "Her name is Lila. She was my sister." The man was taken aback. "Was?" "Yes," the old woman said softly. "She died many years ago. But she couldn't move on. Our bond was too strong, and she chose to stay with me. She's the one I've been talking to all these years." "But why does she appear now?" the man asked, his curiosity piqued. "She senses something," the old woman replied, her voice trembling slightly. "Something dark and malevolent. Lila has been trying to protect me from it." The man felt a chill run down his spine. What is it? I don't know, the old woman admitted. But it's been growing stronger. Lila can only do so much. I'm afraid it might be too powerful for her. Determined to help, the man decided to stay awake and keep watch. He began researching the history of the house and the surrounding area, hoping to find clues about the dark presence. He discovered that the land the house was built on had once been the site of a tragic event. The woman accused of witchcraft had been executed there centuries ago. Her spirit, filled with anger and resentment, had lingered, growing stronger over time. Realizing the connection, the man knew he had to find a way to appease the restless spirit. He sought the help of a local historian and a spiritualist, learning about rituals that might bring peace to the tormented soul. On a moonlit night, the man, the old woman, and the spiritualist gathered in the house. They performed a cleansing ritual, calling upon the spirits to find peace and move on. As they chanted and burned incense, the air grew thick with an otherworldly presence. Suddenly, the dark-haired woman appeared, standing protectively beside the old woman. The man watched in awe as she confronted the malevolent spirit, her form shimmering with an ethereal light. The two spirits clashed, their energies colliding in a fierce battle. With the combined strength of the ritual and Lila's determination, the dark spirit finally began to weaken. A powerful gust of wind swept through the house, and with a final, agonized scream, the malevolent presence dissipated into the night. Exhausted but relieved, the man and the old woman watched as Lila's form began to fade. She turned to her sister, a serene smile on her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "I can finally rest now." The old woman reached out, tears streaming down her face. "Goodbye, Lila. I'll miss you." As Lila vanished, the house seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The atmosphere lightened, and the oppressive weight that had hung over it for so long was lifted. From that night on, the old woman lived in peace, no longer haunted by the dark presence. The man stayed by her side, their bond growing stronger as they shared their experiences and newfound friendship. And the neighborhood, once wary and fearful, began to embrace the old woman, finally understanding the truth behind the whispers and gossip. The man's life had been forever changed by his encounter with the unseen, and he knew that some mysteries were meant to be uncovered, not feared. Together, they moved forward, leaving the shadows of the past behind and embracing the light of a new beginning.